Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga holding a media briefing to provide an update on the basic education sector's response to the impact of COVID-19 on schooling. The minister will provide an update on the state of readiness for the reopening of schools. Let's take you there now live.
In this sector, we're not even spared. Our young democracy has been tested to the limit, but on the other hand, as South Africans, we have demonstrated what a great nation we are. Because South Africans from different walks of life came forward to lend a hand towards the healing, rebuilding, and renewal. And as a nation, we should continue to express our appreciation and gratitude to all those South Africans who continue to work towards these noble goals and reject violence with the contempt it deserves. We should refuse to be divided as a nation along racial and ethnic lines, and where things have happened, we should work together and work for healing and nation building in this beautiful country of ours. And unfortunately, this unrest happened in the month of July, which we all pride or cherish as the Mandela Month. And I think in his name, let us all ensure that never again we witness these barbaric events recently in our country, and rather in his name work for peace, work for unity, and for our country's well-being and its people. So this briefing program director, we're going to look at the readiness for schools reopening, which will be led by DDG Geya. Also, we will touch on our readiness for a full return of primary school learners, because it's our other new challenge. Update the nation on the sector vaccination. Also reflect on the vandalism of our schools in Gauteng and the Western and KZN. We'll just update you briefly on the shift of the ECD program from basic education to social development to basic education. We have recently finalized work around the May-June supplementary exams, and will be announcing somewhere 24th of August. Is that not so, Dr. Polo? 24th of August learners will be receiving their results. And just also make announcements on the school calendar for 2023, not 2022. 2023, and it's very helpful for people to be aware when we make these publications, because we do want them to comment so that parents don't discover in January that schools are opening on this day or not on this day. So we have published the 2023 school calendar, and we'll also be making a brief announcement around the school nutrition program. But first and foremost, I really want to take this opportunity to thank the staff and the leadership of the Department of Health from national to provincial department with the work that they really did with us on vaccination. We also want to extend our appreciation for the professional services we received from health from the start to the end. We also want to express our gratitude and appreciation to our teacher unions, organized labor in the sector, and also our school governing bodies, including the different NGOs and entities that work with government. Our teacher organizations helped us with advocacy, with vaccination education to its members, and leading from the front. Their support and assistance as unions contributed enormously towards the success of this program. For that, I want to wish them most sincerely. But also want to thank, as I say, our entities that were there. Just the vaccination program for us was very important as a sector, just to try and get the sector back on track one way or the other. It was based on the analysis by Professor Martin Gustafsson from DBE, using the information that we have on PESAL. They report that between March 2020 and February 2022, we lost almost 1,678 educators. And that's a very modest a number that we are citing. But it does show that as a sector we were under extreme difficulties. We can report we've lost as a sector an MEC, we lost a head of department, we lost the president of one of our teacher unions, and lost quite a number of senior staff within provincial and national departments. Just last week, we were burying a couple from a doctor from a department who passed away with his wife. So it's really been a very devastating impact on us. So we can report that when we spoke to the public last time, we said we had made a request of 582,000 jabs from the Department of Health, and can report that we have spent 517,000 of those jabs, which gives us an 89% vaccination success rate. Reports on outstanding members who have not come forward, they include reasons like the vaccination site was far from where I was. Some were not very sure about the hesitance about the vaccination. There was vaccination hesitance in some instances. Some people preferred this vaccination jab over the other. They didn't want the J&J. They wanted Pfizer, for instance. Some had just been tested. I mean, we had more than 30,000 teachers who had tested positive for COVID-19. As a result, they couldn't be vaccinated. Some cited medical and religious reasons. But what is encouraging me is the fact that we continue to receive requests for assistance from some of our teachers who were initially hesitant, who are now coming forward to ask for help. And we still hope that these educators will come forward. And because we have closed the vaccination for education, but they are in the system, they can join the general population vaccination program, which is underway. On the reopening of schools, as a sector, we have held countless consultative sessions to deliberate on the reopening of schools. And depending on the President's confirmation tomorrow, when he has his family meetings with fellow South Africans, and after Cabinet, we want to report that as a sector, we are ready. The last time the announcement was made was that schools will be reopened on the 26th, and that's why we're working towards the 26th. But again, the President will confirm tomorrow. What we will do, I've asked DDG Geya to give you a full report about our readiness for the schools reopening, what instruments and tools we're using to be able to determine our state of readiness. The Director General himself continues to convene one-on-one meetings with heads of provincial education departments to ensure that there is continuous sharing of experiences and working together. And as I said, DDG for Provincial Delivery and Oversight Unit, Ms. Simone Geya, will make a presentation just now to give more details on the matter. In 2020, the President did announce a 100 billion stimulus package, amongst other things, which was meant for job creation. As part of the Presidential Employment Stimulus Program, to address the devastating impact of COVID-19 on our sector, on the economy, but also on general social infrastructure, DBE and its provinces were allocated 7 billion. 2.4 billion was used towards the saving of posts for those schools that are independent, but also for posts to save posts which were meant for your school governing body teachers, because most parents, with the impact of COVID, find it difficult to pay fees. As a result, schools were struggling. Just from that 2.4 billion, we're able to save more than 33,549 posts. The remaining amount of money, which is about 5 billion, was used to employ almost 320,000 young people as teacher assistants, but also as general workers. And these young people assisted the sector in addressing challenges in schools arising from the COVID-19 outbreak. They supported teachers with in-classroom remedial work, focusing in particular on learning gaps in the sector, and also helping with advocacy and education for vaccination. So it did create, I think most members of the media will be aware that COVID-19 measures forced us to have a differentiated timetable And they did help us in closing the gaps and helping us to claw back on some of the priorities, ramping up on the reading and numeracy programs which we had underway, helping us continue with the work on coding and robotics and many other activities, including a conducive environment in compliance with COVID-19 protocols. And we do believe that indeed, after Treasury has finalized whatever it's really working on, they'll be able to assist us in getting these young people back again into the system. On our side, we're very ready. I thought the program director should also express our deep concern about what happened to our schools in recent weeks during the unrest in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, where education centers and institutions were vandalized and looted. I received a list from the MEC of KZN of about 137 schools which were vandalized, were 3 education centers which were vandalized, and 8 circuit offices which were also affected. This is a really unprecedented, and we are concerned as a sector that much needed school infrastructure was damaged, and it is a serious setback as the sector is already under extreme pressure in terms of appropriate infrastructure for schooling. The province has made, I've been speaking to the MEC even from up to late yesterday, they're making all the necessary arrangements to ensure that all these schools do open on Monday, the 26th of July, and that teaching and learning continues. In Gauteng, more than 43 schools were vandalized from the beginning of the year, but during this period, only 11 cases were reported. 29 of the schools that were vandalized from the beginning of the year have been repaired out of the 43. And the province is also working hard to make sure that even the schools that were affected in Gauteng, the learners are able to go to school. In the main, from the reports that I received from the provinces, both Gauteng and KZN, our ablutions blocks were vandalized, plumbing equipment removed, water supplies destroyed, even including stealing water tanks that were put in schools. There was some schools had their electrical wires ripped off, copper cables stolen, school fences ripped off, certain libraries alight with textbooks and stationery, and in the main, our ICT centers and nutritional centers and admin blocks were the target. Though we have not finalized the cost of this damage, our estimates that we worked on in a meeting convened by the Deputy Minister on Friday, the estimations exceeded 300 million of damages that we've suffered as a sector. Because in face of such major attacks, we need to stand together in condemning condemning the destruction of public and private property. We wish to thank all the partners who have joined the department in conveying this message, calling for the protection of schools. And as a sector, we've agreed with MECs to embark on an integrated campaign to involve school governing bodies, law enforcement agencies, our teacher unions, parents, and civil society to ensure that we take a strong position to love and protect our schools. And as I say, amongst the many strategies we've agreed as CEM was to mobilize our learners, as I said, and all the other people to help us really safeguard our schools. Our priority which we agreed on in CEM was to embark on executive roadshows, paying special attention to identify hotspots and to normalize learning environments once schools open. As I say, difficult the cities for KZN with 137 structures attacked, and the MEC tells me that they have serious structural damages which, if we use them as they are, could pose serious dangers to learners. And therefore, they have to find other means of making sure that school does continue, despite all these setbacks. I did report that I will also just give an update on early childhood development function shift. On the 30th of June 2021, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, signed the National Proclamation to effect the Early Childhood Development function shift from the Department of Social Development to the Department of Basic Education. The signed proclamation was gazetted on the same day, and it is a critical milestone in the function shift process, which will enable DBE and Department of Social Development to start the planning process to ensure that the function shift is effected, and it will be effective from the 1st of April 2022. In the coming months, DBE and the Department of Social Development will continue with their planning and preparations for this shift. This year, different branches from the Department of Education are also preparing for the delivery of this function into the sector. We're also working with civil society, coordinated by one of our partners, independent partners outside government, the NECT, to make sure that, again, we are able to have an integrated program working with those ECD centers which are outside the span of government. We are working very hard with the Department of Social Development to ensure that there's no interruption to service delivery through this transition process. As departments, we see this as a significant opportunity to improve access to quality early learning and to ensure and to enhance the ECD delivery system to better serve the children of our country. Again, Chair, I did say that we will just touch also on the fact that we have just completed our supplementary exams, which started in May this year and June. These supplementary exams are a second examination opportunity that is offered to candidates who wrote the November 2020 examinations, and also it's also an examination for adults who want to sit for matric. And this year's supplementary exams were very important in view of the fact that we had a number of challenges with the 2020 matric exams. Some of the learners could not present themselves, but our performance had dropped. Therefore, we felt it was important to give some of our 2020 learners a second chance to write their exams. So the writing of this exam started on the 26th of May, and it was concluded on the 7th of July. We had 249,851 candidates that enrolled, 711 of these candidates were for the National Senior Certificate, and 140,140 of these candidates were Senior Certificate candidates. We made sure, despite the fact that we were on level 4, that we follow COVID-19 protocols to the latter. And we can announce that a total of 772,000 scripts were marked by almost 9,223 teachers in the 54 centers. As I indicated before, the standardization is going to happen on the 6th of August, and on the 24th of August this year, learners will get their results. The other points that I really wanted to announce was the fact that we have gazetted our proposed 2023 school calendar. It has been published on all DBE platforms. It is a staggered calendar, one for coastal provinces and another for inland provinces. Because if members of the public will recall, we tried to test if we could have one day for schools opening and one day for inland and coastal. Parents and committees came back to say they prefer staggered timetable, where inland schools open on a certain day and then coastal schools open on a certain day. And they cited reasons like movement, transport. If they've gone on holiday, they will really want to find time to really move in between provinces. So we've gone back to the staggered timetable, and that's why we're drawing your attention to it. We also wanted to make an announcement that we continue to put in place plans to continue feeding to learners not yet in school, because, as I said, this week it will still be staggered. We hope to start phasing in your primary school from the 2nd of August, but some high school learners who are not covered by the full return to school would still really be on a rotational timetable. So plans are in place to continue providing feeding to learners not yet in school, using different options, including staggered feeding at schools, cooked food collected at school, food parcels collected at schools, as well as parcels at collection points other than schools, that provinces will really work out and say what is the best method. We continue to call on our parents and members of the community to support the learners who benefit from the nutrition program to get their meals, whether they are back in school or not. And learners not attending can approach the nearest school to collect their meals or food parcels. As a sector, we have a lot of work to do, but we really do believe with the support of the communities, the NGOs and civil society working with us, we are up to the task as South Africans, not only as a sector, because we really rely on support outside ourselves. And we believe that it will get better if all our partners and stakeholders continue to support us the way they have been doing. So I want to thank you very much, Program Director, and invite DDG Geya to really give an update about the readiness to return to school on Monday. Thank you very much.